This is the exact strategy that I follow every single day to maintain a lean physique year round. The most important part of this is the diet. I've tried keto, I've tried carnivore, I've tried a lot of different diets. I've tried training 7 days a week. It's all kind of bullshit. Basically, it comes down to finding what works for you, fits into your lifestyle in a way that you can actually sustain and do consistently, because that's the only thing that matters is, can you do it consistently? If you can only do it for a week and then you crash out and you crash and burn, then it's not the right thing for you. I'm telling you my blueprint because it's worked for me and it works for a lot of people. What I'm gonna do is just run through my schedule on a very average day. Every day is a little bit different because life happens, but most days, almost every single day, after I get a gorgeous night's sleep, I will wake up and hydrate. Water with electrolytes. Find an electrolyte mix you like, throw some salt in there. We are running on water for the first 60 to 90 minutes of the day. Some point mid-morning, I will have a black coffee, maybe even a matcha tea if I'm really feeling it. But that will carry me over up until noon, 1, 2 o'clock. I'm not having food up until noon to 2 most every single day. That's kind of something that happens every day. Even when life gets crazy, maybe once or twice a year, I will actually eat a breakfast. This can be a challenge at first, but with time, you will get used to it. You will develop this skill of fasting in the morning and not eating for that first 5 to 6 hours of the day. It makes me sharper, but it does make that eating window smaller. When your eating window is smaller, it's harder to eat more. The cold hard truth is it does come down to calories, and you can still gain weight eating in a smaller window, but it helps to eat less calories when your window is smaller. That's just the facts. So from noon to 2 o'clock when I have my first meal, I usually keep it very light. Sometimes it's a pre-workout meal, so it'll just be some carbohydrates, maybe a moderate amount of protein, maybe some eggs, maybe some fish, and then some fruit and vegetables. That meal's usually somewhere between 400 to 600 calories. Very light, but keeps me full. So I'm giving myself good quality, nutrient-dense foods. We'll get more into that later. That first meal carries me up until my large meal around 5 or 6 o'clock. Ground beef, steak, more eggs, maybe some salmon, maybe some tuna steaks. It's gonna be packed with protein, satiating proteins. And I'll plate that with some vegetables of choice, maybe some potatoes, sweet potatoes, broccoli, just fill in the blank with whatever foods you like to have. If it's a vegetable, it's not gonna make you gain weight. That's just, I'll just tell you that right now. But if you don't like it, you're not gonna keep eating it every day. So find the vegetables and the fruits that you like to eat. Same with the proteins. If you don't like salmon, you don't have to eat salmon, but you need to find some sort of animal food that's high in protein, that's lean, it's gonna make you feel full, and you're gonna enjoy eating. After that large meal, I'll go for a walk. Usually like 15 to 20 minutes just to help with digestion. And then after that walk, I'll have something sweet. Usually it's a bowl of Greek yogurt with some honey and berries. I like to keep it simple, but it really does satisfy that sweet tooth. And whether I'm tracking or not, I like to aim for at least 160 to 200 grams of protein, because protein is going to keep you the most satiated. That's a common theme you're going to find. If I'm going to be eating, there's usually going to be some protein present. Which brings me to the topic of my priorities. Okay, these are things that I am prioritizing with each meal throughout the day that just help me stay on track and win the day. Because it really is just about winning one day at a time. That's all you can do, is win one day at a time. It seems daunting when you tell yourself, in 3 months I'll be at my goal. Yeah, that's true, but you have to do what you're supposed to do today. That's all you can do. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just focus on today. Can I do the right thing today, at this meal, at this moment? Literally, that's all you have is this moment. Okay? The things that I'm prioritizing each day is whole foods. So you're going to hear a lot of gym bros say, it's all about calories in, calories out. and I agree. That is the science. If you've never heard of the Oreo study, they gave this group of people just Oreos to eat, but kept it under their caloric needs to lose weight, and they did lose weight. But you're going to look like shit if you do that. You're going to feel like shit, and you're not going to be able to do that long term. This is something that we're building for a lifetime. Sure, you can have days where you eat some hyper palatable processed foods, but you need to be aware of what that's going to do to your palate. It's going to desensitize your palate. I've struggled with this in the past. Even when I was prioritizing whole foods, once in a while I would go off and eat something that fit in my macros, fit in my calories, but it was hyper palatable and processed. Maybe a protein bar, or maybe, like Halo Top ice cream because it's like super low calorie. But the truth is that desensitized my palate to just want that more. So many times I would have that one day, but then the next day I was thinking about that food, like the food that I was eating, the steak, the eggs, the vegetables. It started to taste more bland. So you need to know, the more you indulge in those hyper processed foods, the more it's going to desensitize your palate, and the more you're going to have cravings for that bullshit. So I understand everything in moderation, but you need to be mindful of that. The easiest way to avoid those cravings is to cut those foods out. That's just common sense. If a crackhead's trying to quit crack, but he gets to use crack once every 2 weeks, he's going to be thinking about crack for the next couple days. I don't know if I should bleep that out, if it's going to get taken down. If an alcoholic is trying to quit alcohol, but he gives himself a drink every few weeks, he's going to be thinking about drinking again for the days following that. And it's going to be really easy for him to relapse. It's just easier for him to not have the drink at all and not put himself in a position where he's going to relapse and where he's going to really spiral out of control. However, it's not just enough to eat whole foods. I have gained weight eating whole foods. You need to still be mindful of the macros and of the actual foods you're eating. You could eat 20 bananas a day and really jack up your calories that way. But if you chose to eat some butternut squash instead of those bananas for a similar amount of volume, you're going to be at half the amount of calories. You have to respect the physiology. Prioritizing whole foods is going to take you from beginner to novice. But if you want to get from the good but average looking physique to an elite physique, you have to at least be mindful of the macros. You have to respect the physiology. I used to gain weight eating, you can eat dates. You can go crazy on butter and olive oil and these super, I would call them health foods, but they're still easy to overindulge in. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you need to track every single calorie. I don't think that is the healthiest way. However, if you have no idea how much all these foods have as far as calories, it would be beneficial to track for a month just so that you're able to be mindful when you're choosing foods. When you get to a place where you're eating the right foods, the right amount of foods, the right macros, there still comes a point when you have to put the fork down. There's going to be some hunger, there's going to be desire to keep eating. And the best way that I've found to reduce that sometimes mindless overeating is by being more mindful. I do that in a couple different ways. First one that's helped so much is just being present. When you sit down to eat, you need to just be present with your food. That means no phone, no screen, no YouTube, no scrolling. Sit down with your plate and be with your food. Combining your phone with food creates a surge in dopamine. Think about it like this. When you eat food, you get a little dopamine. When you open your phone, you get a little bit of dopamine. When you stack those, you get a lot of dopamine. Your brain loves that. That's why it's enjoyable to scroll or put something on TV while you eat. It's because you're getting a double dopamine hit. But the thing about dopamine is it rises and then it falls. And a lot of times when it falls, our mind misses the height. It misses the height. It liked that high. Your dopamine might hijack your person and say, no, we need to keep doing this. So then you go grab more food so you can scroll, and then you're just chasing this high. It's just not good for your system to mix these, okay? Keep them separate. Dopamine's good for you. There's a reason we have it. But when your body is using it and abusing it like a drug, it's going to lead to problems. So keep the screens away. And second, extremely helpful tip is to chew your food thoroughly. When you're chewing your food, I'm talking like 30 to 50 chews before you swallow. Like, it is like mush baby food. And then you swallow your food. That's doing a couple different things. First of all, that mastification is actually fully breaking down the food first in your mouth, and in turn it's going to be easier to digest, so then it's going to send signals to your brain that says, hey, we're full. We have eaten a lot, which comes back to the screens. When you're looking at a screen, your body isn't able to read that signal that says, hey, we're eating, we're getting full. You know, that little signal that says, hey, we're full. You're not even focused on the food, so you're not hearing that signal. But when you're chewing your food thoroughly, it also just ends up taking longer to eat, which is good. Most of us are just in a rush and we are slamming our food. But if we sat down at that meal and took a solid 30 minutes to chew our food, swallow, we're not ramming it down our throat. Like, take your time when you're eating. That will make such a huge difference with the satiety that you're feeling. And it's going to help with your digestion. It's going to keep you from getting bloated, and you're going to be able to eat and then hear a signal and put the fork down and feel full and feel satisfied and feel good. You're not going to feel bloated and lethargic like you just ate too much. That's a quick rundown of the things I would tell everyone they should be doing and they can be implementing as far as diet. On top of diet, I think there's some super underrated things like getting amazing sleep. I sleep 8 to 9 hours every night, and that is the foundation of my health. If I had to choose one of the three, get a good workout in, eat really well, or get a good night's rest, I'm taking the good night's rest. That is the foundation of the next day. If you're staying up late and neglecting your sleep, good luck. Good luck accomplishing anything. Everything is better when you're well slept. And it took me way too long to figure that out. Hopefully you figure that out sooner than I did. Another underrated tool is walking, or just movement in general. I walk so much. If I need to go to the store and it's within walking distance, I am walking there. But if I drove, I'd park in the back of the parking lot so I can walk, and then I'd walk around the aisles just a little bit extra, because movement is king. And you don't really understand how much all those steps add up until you look back a couple months later and you're like, oh wow, I somehow worked in an extra 100,000 steps because I took 100 opportunities to walk 1,000 steps. And that really adds up. Move. The more you move, the more you burn. On top of that, I don't like to overtrain. I like to keep it simple. Lift 3 days a week to build and maintain muscle. If you want to do 4, that's fine, but careful when you're getting to 5 and 6. No one needs to be training 7 days a week. Strength training. And then I find some cardio that I like to do. I run because I find it fun. I've biked in the past. I also find that fun. I don't think swimming's fun, so I don't swim. Don't do something that you don't find fun that you need to force yourself to do. Play tennis, play pickleball, golf, do whatever that's going to get you moving and that you're actually going to enjoy. But the truth is, the lifting, the running, the sexy stuff like the sauna and cold plunge, don't really do that much. It's much more about what you're putting in your mouth. People are going to tell you there's all these different things you can do to get lean, but if you don't have the diet figured out, unless you are running hundreds of miles a week, you're never going to outrun it. You just can't. You need to control what you put in your mouth, and this is the way I've done it in a sustainable way that's going to work long term. It's worked for me for years now, and I hope this helps. I'm just going to keep talking about this because I think that this is a topic a lot of people struggle with. I've struggled with it in the past. This is the video I needed 3 or 4 years ago, and that's why I'm making it now. So feel free to comment any other questions, any other videos that you guys would think might be helpful, and I would love to talk about these topics. I could talk about this forever. That's why I brought some notes, because if I don't stay on track, I will just keep talking about it. So, love you guys. Stay lean. Peace.